All right, good evening.
Oh, thank you.
And welcome to the Town of Douglas Planning Board meeting of Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. This meeting is being recorded and broadcasted by Local Access Programming with remote participation available as provided on our agenda. I hereby call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Members in attendance are Jacob Schultzberg,
Meg Schlesman.
Mike DeRose.
Aaron Sokrat.
Mike Greco.
Jake Gnotic.
okay, and Mr. Zwicker and Mr. Preston are both excused, as well as Mr. Marks. First item on the agenda is an open space grant letter of support. Becky. Good evening, Becky.
Good evening. Becky Gallagher with the Douglas Open Space Committee. Our grant application for T-Mobile fell through, so we're trying again with the Mass Trails Grant Program. Thus, we're looking for an updated support letter.
Okay.
I did leave a copy of the old letter in your mailbox with just with the corrections.
Yep, did a little white out and retype it.
Correct.
Okay.
We're trying.
All right. John, any input?
No, I think
Okay.
pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Obviously, anything the Open Space Committee does, I would think would support that. And I think we get to, for open space, it's interesting.
Board, any questions, comments, concerns? With that, I'll entertain a motion to support the Open Space Committee grant letter of support.
Second. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, made by Ms. Schlesman, seconded by Mr. Gnotic.
You authorize me to sign that on the board behalf?
Yes.
I'll send you the draft if you sign off on it.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. I'll have that signed, ready
Thank you for
for
your
you.
time.
Thank you.
All right. Number 3, A&Rs. We'll start off with 269 Southeast Main Street. Is anyone here to present this?
Good evening.
Welcome. Just name and address, please.
Joe Leonardo. I live at the 5 Winstone Drive, Northbridge, Mass.
But you own.
I own the property at 269 Southeast Main Street, of which we're looking to parcel off a lot off of 16 acres.
Okay. Ma'am?
I'm Joe's daughter, Valerie Leonardo.
All right, welcome. All right, John?
Yeah, so the A&R plan, in addition to showing the establishment lot, is also a reduced frontage plan, parcel B. The proposed access to the property is off of Pine Street. It contains approximately 75 feet, and the newly created lot will contain 4.15 acres. The lot meets the dimension requirements for a reduced frontage lot. In general notes, note number 3 states that the lot cannot be further subdivided in the future. This is one of the requirements of a reduced frontage lot, that notation. The remaining lot will also conform to the minimum dimensional requirements for the RA zoning district. So in my review, in my opinion, this doesn't have any deficiencies and it's ready for the board to potentially endorse.
Okay. Members, any questions, comments, concerns for this?
Are there any existing buildings on this property right now?
No.
No, it's just raw land. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion to endorse the A&R plan for 269 Southeast Main Street.
So moved. Second.
Made by Mr. DeRose, second by Mr. Greco. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Please the board as Mr. Leonardo, after we do the second A&R, the board can sign both at the same time and you can get my lot back. So you can hang around for a few minutes.
Sure, I can hang around.
All right.
We could hang around for the rest of the meeting.
If you want to, that's cool.
Thank you.
You can have the seat here.
They are all laid out.
Yeah.
All right. Second, A&R for 133 and 137 Maple Street, possible votes. Someone here for this project? Sir? Just introduce yourself for us.
Michael Hendrickson. I own 137 Maple.
Okay. And what do you got going on there?
Well, it's my nephew lives next door.
Okay.
Just wants to adjust the land so that it fits his needs and our needs better.
Okay.
Kind of like, I guess you call it a land swap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Charbonneau?
Yeah, this is a straightforward one. The lot meets the dimension required for the RA zoning district. And like I said, the plan proposes a land swap of land between parcel 1 and 2. And the swap will not create any non-conformities for either lot. They'll still meet all the dimensional requirements for the zoning.
Board members, any questions, comments? Seeing as none, I'll entertain a motion to endorse the A&R plan for 133 and 137 Maple Street. So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Gnatic, second by Mr. Sokrat. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. We'll just take a brief recess just to stamp the plans.
There's 2 Mylars with your signature stamps and 2 copies of each that you'll have to sign with the header.
Okay.
Oh, in the appendix.
John, you were going to say, sign the Mylars, stamp the paper. Stamp the Mylars.
Sign the paper.
That's what you're
Mylar, yes. Oh, Mylar pen. So you got the copies to Jay? Yeah, thanks. You're right. Two Mylars to sign for it. This is like a try. I love this stuff.
John, you might get in from that.
See the lines, how small they are in that one? Yeah, that's not the standard. No, it's not. Like
I thought we were, they've been doing this for 50 years. You think you can by now?
You had to sign it by hand.
All set. Have that recorded at the Bristol County Registry of Deeds.
Okay.
Then send us the recorded information on the page.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Yeah, I
Where's Melchiori? I know Melchiori's from Natick. I sold a piece of land on by Melchiori out here, but he was from Natick. His dad wanted it in a poker game like 80 years ago, won this little lot on by like mine. Seriously wanted it. Isn't that cool? That's like that sounded like a book story. I think there's a lot of interest in this.
Good night. Every night. Thought you were staying for the rest of the meeting.
That was until you got a payment signed.
That was a bargaining chip.
Shifted over here.
Oh, yeah.
Why are we all over here?
Because people want to. They want to see through. They don't want to see my bald head.
All right, moving right along. 2025 draft annual report, possible votes. Mr. Charbonneau, so we have a draft.
Yeah, so what you have in your packet is simply a draft annual report of the planning board listing the accomplishments of the board, all the things the board has done over the last year.
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry.
It is.
Just look at the file and put it together.
Yeah.
Board, any questions? All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion to accept and sign, or no, really sign.
Yeah, just vote to approve the annual report for submission.
Okay. I think I still moved on that.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Made by Mr. Rose, second by Mr. Greco. Any further discussion? Seeing as none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Number 5, public hearings, 7 p.m. Public hearing, Eastland Partners, Inc., application for definitive subdivision at DEF-251203, Freshwater Preserve, and Eastland Partners, Inc., application for special permit, SP-251203, Flexible Development, Freshwater Preserve. I will read the posting. Name of applicant, Eastland Partners, Inc. Name of owner, Morningview LLC. Date and time of public hearing, Wednesday, January 14, 2026, at 7 p.m. Subject matter of the hearing, in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 41, Sections 81K-81GG, the Town of Douglas Rules and Regulations governing the subdivision of land in Douglas, Section 4.2, and the zoning bylaws, Section 7.2. The Douglas Planning Board will hold a public hearing on the application for a definitive subdivision plan and a special permit for a flexible development for the residential subdivision known as Freshwater Preserve. Description: the project consists of a 10-lot, single-family residential development. Site location is Southwest Main Street, map 212, parcel 24. Place of public hearing, Douglas Municipal Center, Resource Room, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. Any person interested or wishing to be heard should appear at the time and place designated. Visit the town website for the agenda and Zoom information. A copy of the application is available for review during regular business hours in the Douglas Community Development Department, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. 01516. Public hearing is now open. Just a quick ground rules. We have a full house. We usually haven't seen a full house in a while. So just keep, I just ask the audience just to keep discussions amongst yourselves to a minimum. It's very distracting during the hearing and presentation if people are talking. Also, no back and forth talking between applicant and parties in the audience, and just wait to be called on until you're recognized to speak.
Good evening.
All right.
For the record, Travis Brown with Turning Point Engineering, representing Eastland Partners for the project before you tonight. I don't know if I should turn that. Can you guys see that okay?
We have copies of plans in front of us, so if you want to keep that facing the audience, that's right.
Fair enough.
Travis, have you turn it a little bit because people sitting on this side. Great, thank you.
And Travis, I just want to try to do, not really bare bones, but just a general overview of what's going on.
Sure.
We're obviously not going to hammer it
Solve
all
everything
out
tonight.
in one
Yep.
night, so
Yep.
I'm just going to kind of introduce the plans and see what's going on.
Sure. So the existing property is listed as map 212 parcel 24. It contains 18.7 acres. Majority of that's upland. There's a small wetland in the back. None of the work would be within any buffer zones to any wetlands. So all proposed work would be in the upland area. The zone line does split this parcel down the middle. The front half, if you will, is zone RA. The back is RC2. There's a 40-foot wide strip that we'll get into details of that later, off of Southwest Main Street. Comes into the property about 370 feet. The property then opens up to a much bigger parcel. So the access point to what we're proposing is through that 40-foot strip. Again, we've requested a waiver. We'll talk about details of that. So with the application, we prepared a yield plan showing conventional lot layout. On that yield plan, that shows 8 lots. As I mentioned, the zone line splits through there. 4 of those lots would be in the RC2 zone, which allows duplexes by special permit to the board. So potential up to 12 units in that conventional subdivision plan. What Eastland is proposing is to do 10 lots under the flexible development. So the advantages of that, it allows open space to be preserved. It allows a buffer around the perimeter of the site. It adds 1 affordable unit to the project. So 10 total lots, 9 market rate, 1 affordable is what the proposal is. Typical zoning and lot area is 90,000 square feet. I'll just pause for a minute. Okay. So the zoning requirement is 90,000 square feet. Under flexible development, you can significantly reduce that even further than what we've done. So we're proposing 40,000 square foot lots. We'll have a private septic and a private well. Town water is just right down the road, but the pressure is so poor that it's not viable to bring that into the site based on conversations with DPW. So with that, 40,000 square foot lots, all single-family houses that would meet required setbacks, frontages for the flexible development. We're proposing 22 feet of pavement with a 5-foot wide sidewalk on one side that would terminate at Southwest Main Street, come all the way up on the left-hand side or the high side as you would come in, and then around the cul-de-sac. So that would provide access for many kids getting down to the end of the road for bus stop and just general pedestrian traffic. We've done significant soil testing on site. We did it in the center line of the road, verified there's no ledge on site. The soils are pretty favorable. Class B and C, A and B soils throughout. We did run some perks unofficially. Those were 3-4 minutes, so no issue getting septic systems, no issue getting stormwater basins. We've done testing in the stormwater basins as required by stormwater management. The drainage system would consist of traditional pipe system with catch basins, drain manholes. Those would collect all of the roadway and the house lots, then be brought to the infiltration basins. Again, good soils so that stormwater would be infiltrated back into the ground. So per stormwater management standards, we've met all of the standards, reduced the runoff and post-development conditions. One of the concerns when we did have a tech review meeting was that no stormwater runoff go out into Southwest Main. So we've brought the road grade back to a low point about halfway up that strip, brought that back into the site where it would be treated and infiltrated back into the ground. Based on this 10 lots, it's pretty small scale from what Eastland does. So Eastland is a local developer, currently building projects in Bellingham, Uxbridge, Millbury, Auburn. Similar type project probably to this is the one in Uxbridge, which is a 40B, 40 units, so much higher density. But the traffic from this, you know, as I had mentioned in the application, the peak is 12 vehicle trips in the peak hour, so very low. Doesn't create problems, I don't believe, on Southwest Main Street. In addition to looking at the traffic counts and kind of the impacts of that, also sight distance. This road does come downhill from the west. So looking west as you would pull out of the driveway, it goes up at about a 6.5% grade. So adequate sight distance is met based on road grade and posted speed. So the posted speed on Southwest Main is 30 miles an hour. What we did is we met 30 miles an hour, and then we also added in 35 miles an hour. So it's met in under both. So we believe that's sufficient. That does require removing 2 larger trees pretty much in front of the site, 40-foot right-of-way, and then probably some vegetation trimming in the right-of-way along the frontages of the adjacent properties. So I believe site distance can be met. There'll be a stop sign at the end of this, you know, roadway for cars leaving. And again, the 40-foot width is, I know it was something that was talked about with this board, some members of this board back in 2020. Kind of the engineer and owner came in looking for some guidance. It appeared based on watching the tape that everybody was generally okay with it. I know this is a new filing, new application.
We're not going to go back 4 years and start talking about it.
I'm giving you facts, John, the facts of the tape of the members of this board. I'm just saying that's one thing that we do need to talk about would be the waiver, because we don't want to go down this road and then...
Yeah, no, but I've gotten an opinion from town council that the informal discussion that happened 4 years ago has no bearing on what happens today. If there was no vote taken, it's a different...
Yep, I never... Yeah, sure. So that's something that will need to be discussed. So the 40-foot right-of-way doesn't meet the 60-foot standard, obviously, which is why we're requesting the waiver. To get a road in a 40-foot right-of-way, you can do that work in a 40-foot right-of-way like you could a 60-foot. We're not providing an inadequate road that doesn't provide safety, that doesn't provide other characteristics of a 60-foot. So the reality, there's no difference other than it's merely a regulation that we need to meet. There's been other projects in town that have received waivers, exactly like the scenario before you. Sorry. So 40-foot to start at the strip would open up to a 44-foot wide right-of-way. That's what we're proposing before you. Point that I'd like to make is if I can fit the roadway in a 40-foot right-of-way, then I could fit it in a 44-foot right-of-way. So there's no real difference other than I mimicked what, you know, has previously done in town. So again, that's got to be a topic of conversation, at least get some comfort with moving forward with, you know, discussing that waiver. Received comments from John and his department as well as other departments. Seems like those are pretty easily addressable. Would do that in a future hearing. Formal response to comments.
I wouldn't say they're easily addressed. Please don't speak to the comments. I'm just stating that.
Yeah, we can address those comments, so we will do that in writing. And I know another topic would be peer review.
Okay. All right, so let's just focus on the general site in itself and access at this point. So, Mr. Charbonneau, I'm trying to find comment letters from department heads.
Yep, I did provide a comment, a summary of all the comments from the department heads, and also a comment letter from myself.
You want to start with yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you want me to focus on the waiver issue right now? But you want me to go over the whole thing because I have a lot of comments?
Yeah, maybe just because it will probably all tie into like the general.
Can I ask a question that sets a foundation? The attorney, Kay Connolly, is the attorney? The letter.
Are you talking about her opinion?
No, just about yield, conventional yield versus
Yeah, so-
flexible. Can you set the basis for that?
So,
Yeah.
Actually, again, kind of.
Go ahead. I just wanted to-
all over the place here.
Yeah.
But yes, we did get an opinion from town council that our zoning bylaws, even though they don't explicitly say it, do refer to also submission along with a special permit for a flex design, the requirement to submit a conventional subdivision along with it to show how many lots could be
Yielded.
yielded through a conventional subdivision. We did not receive that.
That's not,
No, Travis, we don't have it. Believe me, we have plans for 2021. What you're showing is a flexible design, but it doesn't show how many lots we can get out of the conventional plan.
What's the 8 versus 10?
What's that?
Hold on,
So
Aaron.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing stuff in front of
Yeah,
us.
so
sorry.
anyway,
Yeah.
that's one of my comments, is that we don't explicitly, so she said that is up to the board, as far as at your discretion, as far as whether or not to require that.
can I just make a statement? As part of the plan set that was provided, sheet C9 shows a yield plan, shows the conventional plan that I mentioned earlier. So it's all part of the application. That's been done.
So if the board is fine with that, then that's acceptable.
So that's, just what exactly is C9 in your,
Yep. So the last sheet of the plan set is sheet C9, so it's a yield plan. It's just a conventional plan.
Okay.
So it's showing the 40-foot strip that opens to a 60-foot strip that meets the right-of-way width of the regulations, lot size based on conventional zoning, so 90,000 square feet.
Now, the issue I do have with this yield plan is technically, when you submit a yield plan, a conventional yield plan with a special permit, it's supposed to represent a subdivision that can be built without any waivers by the board. And this cannot be built without any waivers from the board. So I have a question regarding whether or not this conventional subdivision plan is acceptable, because you're supposed to be able to build it without any waivers, and because of the nature of the lot, this can't be built without any waivers. So that's usually...
To you, John, what waivers would this conventional require?
Well, again...
What have you seen?
well, there's no sidewalks, there's nothing.
Yeah, obviously the access width is one of them.
The width of the road expanding to 60.
Yes, there would be waivers required to build this. Technically, a conventional comparison plan is supposed to be able to be built without any waivers. So that's usually...
Conventional yield, that's the...
So it is partially a yield plan, but it's not completely a yield plan.
Okay.
So, all right, so my comments on the waivers. The applicant is requesting a waiver from Section 5 of the subdivision rules and regulations to allow the width of the street right-of-way to be 40 feet, which is a reduction of 20 feet from the required width of 60. In doing so, the applicant referenced Brookside Drive and Churchill Road as example of similar waivers granted by the planning board previously. I offer the following comments regarding the waiver request. The granting of waivers for prior projects does not establish precedent for the consideration of current waiver requests. That's been confirmed to town council. Each request is evaluated on the current conditions of the site and the surrounding area. In addition, the previous waivers were not granted for flex design developments. If they were granted, they were granted for conventional. That he's comparing this. The Brookside Drive definitive subdivision was approved in 1988, and a roadway access width of 40.9 feet was approved. At the time, the minimum required width was 50 feet. I found no evidence of a waiver being granted. There was nothing in the decision or in that file about a waiver being granted. The Churchill Ground definitive subdivision was approved in 1986. Even though the roadway width is 44 feet, the entrance of the roadway is much wider and appears to meet the minimum width requirement at the time. I found no evidence of a waiver that was granted for that project. Now, in 2009, the minimum right-of-way width requirement for subdivision roadways was increased from 50 feet to 60 feet through town meeting. Since then, 2 waivers have been granted for 50-foot right-of-way widths for the lane at Hunts Pond and Sleepy Hollow. Each granted a waiver from the minimum required 60-foot right-of-way width to 50. These subdivisions are also not flexible design subdivisions. They are conventional subdivisions. The waiver request states that the access strip was created with the intent of future development of the rear portion of the parcel. Because the strip was created in 1974, the nature of the intended development was likely not made clear at the time. The flexible design bylaw did not exist at that time either. So those are my comments as far as the comparison waivers. Again, I found no evidence of the waivers being granted for those two projects.
Okay. All right, so those are your comments. Board, any questions with roadway or width or access?
So if I may, we don't, through the chair.
Yep.
Just historically, just to set a foundation for this 40-foot that existed here, that in 1976-ish, there could have been a conversation about, I want to build one house back there. I'm just saying, how that probably happened back then. And, it wasn't like expressly, we're going to put a development in, I can only grant you 40 feet and whatever. We don't know that conversation. So I'm just saying that, just obviously. So. To what point? I don't know. It's just
to be due to the lens of the here and now.
Yeah. So here we are. Right.
Would your intent for the town to take this roadway over?
Yeah.
Road?
The first conversation that we had at Tech Review was to keep it private, keep it in an HOA. Nobody liked that. I don't know why. They, seem to think that HOAs don't do what they're supposed to as far as maintenance and plowing. But it does also put a burden on the town if the town takes it. So as of this plan, the comments from the departments were that they would rather take the road.
I think that came from both our conservation agent and also the highway director, Adam. Because, yeah, you're right. I've had experience with homeowners associations, and sometimes there can be more burden on the town than accepting the roadway because people come and go. They move in and out of neighborhoods. Somebody's supposed to elect a president of the HOA and collect fees. People are busy, maybe don't want to get involved in that type of thing. Fees don't get paid. Something happens either to maintain drainage or maintain the roadway and the money's not there. And then they always turn back to the town and say, hey, I want, you need to help us out to maintain this roadway, to plow it or to fix it. So ultimately it ends up coming back on the town eventually anyway in a lot of cases. So homeowners associations present their own challenges.
Have you talked to the postmaster about what they would like for a mailbox?
I did. I called down there. They prefer a mailbox kiosk.
Okay.
So I show graphically a kiosk at the cul-de-sac. The label was turned off when I plotted it. I'll be sure to provide some more detail on that. I believe one of John's comments was maybe providing a couple parking spaces for that too.
Yeah, I think we'd have to we might have it in our regulations of how many spots, but we're going to need the actual pull-off spots.
Yep.
And lighted, and that needs to be shown on the plan.
We're actually about to approve that with a public hearing for the zoning, the subdivision rules rights amendments here later this month.
Mm-hmm. So on the plan, you're going to have to show a kiosk and parking spots.
Yep. So my thought was at the cul-de-sac, just make that 9 feet wide for 2 to be able to pull off. 10 lots, 2 should be sufficient.
Through the chair, the postmaster was okay with it being at the cul-de-sac?
We didn't necessarily discuss location. I could run that by them. I said when I got further into it, I would touch base with them.
I suspect the whole point of it is to have it closer to the main road so that they don't have to drive in with the truck. That's what the way it's been at other subdivisions.
Yeah, I can touch base with them on that.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Is it not possible to make this road 60 feet wide, given the way that it's laid out right now?
After the 40-foot strip, I could make it 60 feet wide, but what that does is it pushes everything back, creates more tree clearing, creates more space, but if that's not an issue, then...
Has anyone contacted the people that live along that entranceway to see if they would be willing to?
From my understanding, the owner approached one of those properties and was unsuccessful in trying to get any property. I asked that question when Eastland was first involved.
You got anything, Jake? Gathering thoughts?
Yeah, I guess the sticking point's really going to be, it's a significant waiver, basically making the right-of-way 2/3 of the bylaw width, but
Yeah. I mean,
it's going to be a public accepted road. That's kind of the sticking point.
John, you want to keep going with your comments, because I think they're pretty much with the...
Yeah. You mentioned that you went to one owner, and then one owner is very close to the road. The other one, the actual living house looks like it's 100 feet away.
It is.
Did they go to that owner?
I believe it was the owner to the right. The owner to the left driveway is pretty much on that property line. The one to the right, the house, I know what the house you're referring to, they also have a gravel access right along the stone wall to this property line, to that strip that they use for storage and other vehicles. I believe so.
I'm not saying they should or shouldn't,
I believe so. I don't know 100%.
We shouldn't go deep into that, because the plans are in front of us of what they're looking for us to endorse or accept.
So, let me start out. The first comment is, I want to remind the board that this is a special permit for flex design. It's not allowed by right. It's not even allowed through site plan review. It is a special permit, so certain thresholds have to be met. To be considered, the following criteria: traffic flow and safety, including parking and loading; social, economic, and community needs which are served by the proposal; adequacy of utilities and other public services; neighborhood character and social structures; impacts on the natural environment; and potential fiscal impact, including impact on town services, tax base, and employment. So my first set of comments pertain to Section 7.2 of the bylaws, which is the section on flexible design. The first purpose of flexible development is to encourage the preservation of open land for its scenic beauty and to enhance agricultural, open space, forestry, and recreational use. Placing portions of basins within the required open space does not appear to be consistent with this purpose. Pursuant to Section 7.27 of the zoning bylaws, the applicant needs to present a plan that shows we went through this with the yield plan, so that's already been covered. Pursuant to Section 7.211 of the zoning bylaws, if the roadway is proposed for acceptance by the town, it shall be designed to conform with the standards of the town to the satisfaction of the Highway Department and the Board of Selectmen. If that is the applicant's intention, then the proposed roadway will have to be built to meet the standards of the DPW and the Board of Selectmen. Pursuant to Section 7.213 of the zoning bylaws, any open space that is part of flexible development shall be perpetually kept in an open state, that it shall be preserved for exclusively agricultural, horticultural, educational, or recreational purposes, and that it shall be maintained in a manner which will ensure its suitability for its intended purposes. In addition, it states that the contiguous open space shall be used for conservation, historic preservation, and education, outdoor education, recreation, park purposes, agricultural, horticultural, forestry, or for a combination of these uses, and shall be served by suitable access for such purposes. Again, placing portions of detention or retention basins, which are basically utilities, within the required open space does not appear to be consistent with these regulations. Section 7.215 of the zoning bylaws requires a buffer area of 100 feet at the perimeter of the property where it abuts residentially zoned or occupied properties. This also states that no vegetation in this buffer will be disturbed, destroyed, or removed except for normal maintenance. Again, placing portions of basins within the required open space does not appear to be consistent with this regulation. Section 7.2 of the zone bylaws describes contiguous open space and buffer areas in separate subsections. It appears as though the site plans depict the buffer area and the contiguous open space to be combined into the same area. This does seem to be consistent with previous flex design plans that have been approved by the planning board, although it could be argued that the 100-foot buffer and open space should be separate things. So I already went through my comments on the waiver. The following comments pertain to site plans. The basins shown should include notations that specifies what type of basins they are proposed to be, whether they are detention or retention basins. The location and width of the proposed sidewalks are not clearly indicated on the site plans. The project will require the installation of mail kiosks. The site plans do not indicate the location of a kiosk. Further, the kiosk should be set back from the roadway with a turnout that can accommodate a minimum of 2 vehicles. It should also be located it should not be located within the town right away. It should not be contained and should be contained on its own parcel. It shouldn't be on any private property. Maintenance of the kiosk after completions and acceptance needs to be discussed, and a responsible party needs to be identified for the maintenance of that kiosk. For proposed lots 7, 8, and 10, portions of the basins are proposed to be located on these lots. If the town is to eventually accept the basins and maintain them, then I question whether or not the area covered by them can be included in the lot area calculations for them. Because I know as part of our subdivision rules and regs amendments, Adam has said he prefers basins to be on their own separate parcel for ease of maintenance and access. The site plans do not indicate any proposed easements for the basins in order for the town to access and maintain them. The site plans do not indicate any proposed areas for snow storage, so that's the extent of comments.
Okay. Board, any follow-up on those? Travis, do you have any? I do want to get to the audience, but I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, just a couple things on that. I know a big part of those comments were basins within the open space. So I tried to make it clear on the plan, I can meet the required open space, the 40%, without including the easements around the basins. It was mentioned that the easements weren't shown. They're actually shown on the definitive sheet where the basins, around the basins. So that area wasn't included. Fully understand the basins are within that 100-foot buffer. Reason being, that's the lowest part of the site. So I thought it was important to at least meet the open space requirement by not including those. So I just wanted to point that out. Like I said, the easements are shown. I know some towns require basins to be on their own parcel. Douglas, I don't believe, is one of them. We would do that through an easement, which is pretty common.
Yeah, we're shifting gears to have it its own parcel for town access. This easements get messy.
Sure.
All right.
May I ask a question for the chair and the audience? Open space, is that available to the public or just the people who live there?
I think from discussions I've had, that was usually the intent.
Open general public
Supposed to be
land.
available to the public.
So there's no parking for the public to go down there?
Correct.
So you're going to ride your bike, you're going to take a walk on the driveway and go, and then walk in those woods. And that's how you would do it. There's no real parking. I mean, I guess you could park in the street, but not on a snowy day anyway. Right.
And I know the Open Space Committee did previously ask for us to submit stuff to them for their review if there's any kind of open space being created, so we'll have to do that and get their comments on it.
Sure. I did, the only two departments I haven't received comment from are the conservation agent, and also I did submit these to the school department, because if the school bus is going to be picking up kids there, if this project is approved, then I would want their feedback on the possibility of this project in the location.
Okay. All right. Was there any other department, police chief, fire chief comments? I have a lot of
Yeah,
papers
there
here.
is a summary letter.
May I ask another question, because I'm still trying to learn? Everybody's learning. The conventional loading, that doesn't require, because it's not a flexible development, the open space.
It's correct. Conventional
right?
doesn't require, no, there's no.
So that becomes a moot issue for that.
Correct.
And then, and is the drainage is not required, stormwater management, right?
It would. It would.
Is?
Yeah.
It's not shown here, it's not shown on this plan. Okay. On the 8th.
Yeah, the purpose of the conventional was just to demonstrate that we could get the lots based on required zoning, not necessarily show a full build-out like we did with the conventional.
Right, some of the lots are so large that you probably could put this, the low point, I listened to you, you said put it on the low point.
Yeah, so,
Right, and you could manifest it in a conventional loading or whatever you want.
correct, yeah.
And still put the stormwater not on someone's property, so the town could have access,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, could, but the stormwater management systems would be where they are now. It would just be a conventional
But you
plan.
can slide the square footage is
Right,
not that way.
right. You'd work around them, yeah.
Disengage that, the access for the town from anybody's properties.
Right.
Okay, and I know it's a tough thing to try to do everything at once, all of it, in a 10 unit. Okay.
Yeah, we just thought the flexible development, like I said, preserving the buffer strip was important, because the minute you do a conventional,
Goes away.
property owners can cut right to the property line and there's no buffer. So that, we find that as an advantage. It's good for the people that would be in this development. We feel it'd also be good for the people that live around this development. We've tried to recognize the fact that there are other houses there. I think we've done a pretty good job of staying away from those as best we can, while also providing a residential community for 10 lots.
All right, and, no, you can go.
Travis, you had said, so trying to meet the calculation for open space, can you meet that calculation moving these basins onto their own lot, onto their own parcel?
The other issue, Meg, I have following up on that is there are a couple lots there where I question if you put it on its own parcel, do those lots meet the minimum lot size
Right.
to be part of this?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Travis is going to have to go back to the table and kind of take the comments and look at it.
Yeah.
The short answer is I think I would, because I've already taken the easements out of the open space. The open space area doesn't include those easements. So if I did put them on their own parcel, that would be okay. The only thing is, these would be 4-bedroom houses with private septic, private well. You need 40,000 square feet. Now, we can use the aggregate of the entire parcel through the Board of Health to be able to do that, to get those by doing reduced area, but it's something I would have to further investigate.
Thank you.
And just looking at comments from departments, the highway department, I know you have these, the highway department has a couple, but what sticks out to me, because the police chief has the same comment, is a line of sight appears to be problematic. So you'll have to really show us that there is no problem, and obviously this will get peer reviewed.
Yeah, I do believe I had put the sightline triangles on there. I know it's in the application, part of the narrative. Yeah, so on sheet 4.1, I actually show the stopping sight distance that would be required for 30 miles per hour.
And that's going to get peer reviewed. We're going to, our peer review engineer is going to take our concerns and our comments, and he's going to look at the site and, confirm what you're saying, or, if there's a problem, just have to address it. All right, I'll open up to the audience. Any questions for the project here from the audience? First hand, Mr. Fitzpatrick. You just come up to the table so the mic can pick you up easier.
Good evening. Mike Fitzpatrick, 55 Southwest Main Street. What do you want to, you set some guidelines at the beginning as far as access and the special permit? Is that what you want to stick to? Because you inside the development, so I'm just trying to understand where you want to go.
I know you're a technical guy. We don't want to get too technical, but just a general outline of maybe the plans and access and the roadway.
Why don't we start with the access? Okay. The access first. So, can I hand out something to the members?
You can. I'm going to have a tough time looking through it and keep track of it.
No, you don't have to. But
okay.
That way you'll have it for later on, and then you'll be able to.
Yeah. I'll keep it with my back for the project.
So I split this up into two different approaches. One is just for the access and the special permit. If you're going to get into the rest of it, I have another document for you. So, as it was explained, for the access road, for the variance on the access road going into it, the 40 feet, you used, it was referenced for Brookside Estates. I have a copy of the plans from the Registry of Deeds. That was submitted on 11/24/87, stamped into the town clerk's office at 11/25/87. And unfortunately, the planning board failed to take final action within 90 days, so they had constructive approval. And there was no extensions have been filed with the office, no notice of appeal with Superior Court had been filed with the office. Approval of the plan resulting from such failure to act has become final. The certificate pursuant to General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81V, stamped in on 7/14 of 88. You can have these if you want them. That's on that one. As far as using Churchill, when that was submitted, there was no dimensions given for the road itself on the plan. So you would have had to do your math calculations from the meets and bounds to understand what the width of the road was. So the only waivers that were given for that particular subdivision were waivers for the tree requirement, waiver to install sidewalks to be installed on one side only, waiver to install hydrants, no hydrant, but with the stipulation the subdivision will consist of only 5 single-family house lots, waiver for underground utilities, waiver not to install public sewer, waiver to extend from 500 feet to 873.9. I think the comparison to use those as an example of the board approving 40-foot right-of-ways, which, by the way, even if you could use Churchill, that's 44. It's still not 40. Right? As you look through this document, if you know what the sections are. So if you go right to the comments, it's going to tell you that the applicant indicates that the 40-foot right-of-way was created December 30th, 1974. Worcester County Record of Deeds, Plan Book 407, Plan 21, with the intent that it was reserved for future residential subdivision. In support of this position, the applicant referenced Brookside Estates, which I've already gone over. That's on Plan Book 603, Plan 4. Planning Board should note that Brookside Estates was never acted upon by the Douglas Planning Board. Rather, the plan was constructively approved by the town clerk due to the Planning Board's failure to take timely action. It wasn't this board, it was a previous board 40 years ago. As such, this subdivision does not constitute an affirmative approval by the Planning Board and is not an appropriate comparison for the purposes of establishing an acceptable right-of-way width. At no point did the Planning Board approve, endorse, or otherwise permit a 40-foot right-of-way in the town of Douglas. Right? When the Planning Board revised its subdivision regulations in May of 2009, the minimum required right-of-way width was increased from 50 feet to 60 feet. This revision was based on the board's recognition that the 50-foot right-of-way was increasingly inadequate to accommodate the full roadway cross-section and associated infrastructure, including but not limited to a 24-foot paved roadway, berms, grass strips, sideways, underground utilities, and street trees. At the same time, the board explicitly acknowledged that those right-of-ways that had been reserved between 1975 and 2009 by allowing such previously reserved right-of-ways to maintain a minimum width of 50 feet as reflected in the regulatory language. You want me to keep on reading this whole thing? Because I can. I think...
I'd like get other comments.
What's that?
We'll see what we have for other comments from other audience.
Yep.
You provide a lot of information.
Yep. So you got that on the right of way. As far as the going to the flex development, that I disagree with the Land Council's opinion on that because it's very clear in section 7.2.7, which the town planner has already explained it to you. In order to get a flex development, you would have to show a conforming subdivision in full compliance, and you can't waive that. The planning board can't waive it. That requirement for to get to the flex development. So,
and I think that's just tricky because they can't do a conventional plan because it's physically impossible without a waiver. So
and no, it's not tricky. So think about it this way: in order to get to a flex development, you would have to show a conventional plan in full conformity with no waivers.
No, and that's what I'm saying. I think it's physically impossible to do that because you physically can't do it without a waiver.
It can't be done according to our bylaws.
All right.
So I'll wait until you want to get into the rest of it, but that's what I have to say about the access. One other point that he brought up, on the line of sight. Now, I don't know if anybody's gone by there, but on this plan, if you don't mind if I turn it, I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
Please. On this plan right here where you come out, there's actually a curvature to the road here, right? And this is all the vegetation he's talking about cutting. So is the highway department going to have to come up and keep this cleared back to this property line for continuing to be able to see? You can't see coming out of here. And I didn't pull into that driveway, but I pulled into this dirt driveway that's right next to it, right adjacent to it. You cannot see. And that's what the feedback that you're getting from the police department.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to look into sight distance, safety.
Another consideration, and one other one, and then I'll stop unless you want me to keep going. But January 1st, 2023 through January 6th, 2026, okay, there was 200 citations issued on Southwest Main Street. That doesn't include verbal warnings, that doesn't include written warnings, that's actual citations. There's a neighbor in the audience that I was talking to on the phone yesterday. He just happened to be turning on the Southwest Main Street, and as he comes down to the little dip there, he's like, I can't say what he said, but I said, what? He says, somebody just passed me. He says, I'm actually doing 40 miles an hour, and they passed me on that street. Somebody just got arrested yesterday for they passed the dispatcher on Southwest Main Street over 60 miles an hour, and they just picked the wrong guy to pass because he called it in.
Yeah, and I can certainly attest to my experience in town. During the summer, that roadway is, in of itself, a different roadway than it normally is. So there is a heavy influx of traffic of out of town, out of state. They kind of do their own thing. So
it is a large piece of property, but it's a lot. It's an estate lot, right? It was designed for when the person that owns it now bought it from another gentleman. I spoke to that gentleman before it went up for sale. He described it as a woodlot. He didn't describe it as a future development or anything like that. He described it as a woodlot. And that's what the original owner of that lot, when they subdivided Churchill, he used it as wood. He actually ran the sawmill over on the corner of Cedar and 16th. That's what he did with most of the land that he had around. He cut firewood.
Two comments.
Anyways.
Yeah. Question for you. What are you proposing for utility, electric cable, underground, overhead?
Yeah, it's up to National Grid. It's always tricky. You know, they're the ones that kind of control that, but I assume they would put one pole in and then run underground is how we've typically seen it.
But I don't think they would do the developer would have to do the trench work.
Correct,
Oh, yeah.
correct. Yep. They would own to the pole. The developer would bring the primary in, and then the secondaries as well.
All right, Mike, I just want to see if anyone else in the audience.
Yep, no, that's fine.
Got other people here, so.
Yep, thank you.
Anyone else in the audience? Questions, comments, concerns? Ma'am, I saw your hand go up in the back first.
I'm looking for clarification.
Sure, come on up. Hopefully we can help you.
So Kara Murphy, 18 Churchill Road, and I also own on Webster Street that abuts this land. I heard some mention about the pension funds being within the 100 feet of buffer. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that it would be encroaching on my property because my property is right there by the retention pond.
It would not be encroaching on our property, it would just be potentially closer to the property than it normally would be allowed because the 100-foot buffer, from what I read in the zoning bylaws, is supposed to be that. It's supposed to be a buffer. Very limited clearing is supposed to be allowed, and that's why I made the comment I did about the detention basin being included in that 100-foot buffer. It's one thing to include in the open space, but in my opinion, you know, every place I've been, the buffer's supposed to be just that, it's supposed to be a buffer.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
This is just a quick comment.
Come on up, don't be shy.
Nothing's.
Betty Ann McCullum, 85 Southwest Main Street.
Yes, Betty.
I abut this property. Anyone who thinks that people travel 30 miles an hour on this road hasn't watched the traffic. We have all the Wallem Lake traffic with huge boats. We have trailers. This has now become the route for the big trucks to get on 395 in Connecticut. We have trucks going by our house constantly. We get the Thompson Speedway traffic. Plus the 40-foot opening, you put a 5-foot sidewalk, that brings it down to a 35-foot opening. I just don't think that's safe for emergency vehicles. I'm losing my voice, I'm not.
We can hear you.
I don't think that's safe for the emergency vehicles, and I don't think they would have enough room and enough line of sight for our street. That's my only comment.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Trev?
Yeah, can I just respond to that? So this roadway would meet NFPA requirements, which require 20-foot wide in certain road grades. Everything's under that. We did speak to Highway. They were comfortable with 22 feet when we talked to them. So there's nothing about the roadway that would be inadequate.
I can confirm that. I am receiving comments from Kelly Manning, Fire Department, and also from Adam. Yeah, he's right that those comments were made by the Fire Department and by the Highway Director.
Okay, and that's the road, the new proposed road.
Yeah, the fire code requires a minimum of 20 feet, and I think the roadway width was increased a little bit after the technical meeting.
It was.
Adam's comments to what he was comfortable with.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience? Sir? Please do. I can probably hear you from back there, but the microphone will pick you up.
My name's Jim Duchamp. I'm at 343 Southeast Main. But at one time in '75, I built the house that's abutting the 40-foot road right there.
Okay.
And something that was mentioned that I think kind of went right over everybody that could affect the town considerably is when I built in '75, there was a lot of activity going on there at that time. Dr. McGillivray across the street in the big field. Dick Ballou is building several houses right there. He built his own house, the Nelson's house across the street from him. And we were all drilling wells at the same time. So when you mention that there's town water, but it's got very little pressure, the reason is the height. I think elevation was like 700 feet. We were near the top of the tower, the water tower, so as a result, you don't get much water pressure. So all the people there that are on town water are doing it out of necessity. I put in 3 wells. The first well was 530 feet, and we got 1/10 of a gallon a minute. The second well, we went down, the second well is within a couple of feet of this 40-foot entrance. And I went down 770 feet. We got nothing. And then we did a third well. I gave the fellow whatever I had left, and he went down 300 feet. So we had 3 wells that are still there. Dick Ballou across the street went through the same problems. Donnie Nelson up the road went through the same problems. And so we had to have a special town meeting and beg the town to extend the water line from South Street all the way up. I think it goes up to your house, doesn't it, Betty Ann?
We're the last house.
Up up to her house, there's the last hydrant. You need to have a water pump to boost the water pressure so you can at least flush the toilets and stuff. Because we've got the volume from the town, but we don't have the pressure. So all those houses have water pumps to help. And if you're going to put in more houses, that's going to be a problem the town's going to have to confront, is how to supply water to those, because you can say, I'm going to drill wells, but we've got so many wells all around and adjacent to that property, and they're just not doing anything.
Okay.
We had one geologist look at the land when we did our third well, and he said, all the way up the hill to John Kozlak's place, it's one big monolith. We watched them drill a 700-foot well, and you know how the color of the filings will change, so they know they're getting breaks in the rock. And they went down over 700 feet. The color never changed once. And it was just a lot of money that Lafra Boyce made off of me.
So that's how you pronounce it.
So,
Okay, so
just something to
concerned
consider.
with the water product over there. Can we get input from Mr. Sullivan about what possibly the town could do or would have to do to provide water, adequate water?
And that's the thing, I know that originally, this was proposed to be 13 lots, Flex Design, but after meeting with Mr. Sullivan, it was reduced to 10 out of that concern. So
Right,
I can-
in order to fit private septic and private well in the
So you
lots.
want to ask him about water pressure mitigation?
Yeah, to see what possibly they could do or would have to be done to have a water line in their road instead of wells.
Oh, okay. Oh, town water.
Because that last hydrant too is bagged and it's inactive at this time.
And I just want to make the public aware that the comments from the departments, my comments, and also the comments received from Mike tonight, they're all part of the public file. Anyone who wants them simply has to send me an email and request them. I'd be happy to send them to you if you want to take a look at the comments. So this is all public record, so you're completely welcome to access them at any time.
Just before I go to you, Mike, anyone else in the audience?
I just second that on the water. I'm 69 right there, and I mean, the guy we bought it from, he shut his whole well down. Then he had to actually, after the water was brought in, he had to bring it into our driveway, and it's still, I mean, there's no water pressure at all. He's going to add all that, those houses back there, there's going to be no pressure at all.
All right, just name, sir.
None.
Name and address, sir.
69 Southwest Main Street.
Name?
Frank Boswell.
Thank you, Frank. Ma'am? And then after this, I'll go to Mr. Fitzpatrick again, and we'll try to wrap up this meeting. This isn't going to be the last of it, so we'll definitely get all the comments in if need be.
Pam Schwartz, 343 Southeast Main Street. I used to be on conservation a long time ago, and at one point we were working on new wells for the town. And we had to hire a hydrogeologist come in and do a lot of the hydrogeology of the town to determine the best places to put a well. We did look up into this area at one time, and he came back and said, that is your tertiary and secondary recharge area for the aquifers that supply the town wells. And it is a lot of rock, as Jim was just saying, but, you know, that's something I don't know how much would play into this with private wells and private septic, but certainly something to be aware of. And what is the difference between a zoning RA and a zoning RC2?
Well, you describe that.
Yeah, one is residential agricultural, the other is,
residential commercial.
Yeah, different lot sizes,
just different lot size
uses.
requirements, different frontage requirements, different building setback requirements.
So the parcels in the front are RA.
Yes.
And they are have the 200-foot road frontage requirements, 2 acres. Yeah.
RA is 200 foot of frontage, but this is a but ma'am, this is also a flexible design,
Right,
which allows release from that.
Right. I was just wondering what the difference was in
Yeah.
Am I correct in hearing that if it goes and is developed as a private way with the eventual town taking it over as a public way? Is that the avenue they're
We haven't
thinking of
decided
going?
yet. That's not going to be decided for a little while.
All right. Only because I know of other projects going on in town right now where private way will become a public way, and they have to meet the code for the public way for the future.
So that's going to be something that's...
And that's current,
discussed.
current,
That's just been put out there tonight. We're still a ways away
Got
from
it. Okay, thanks.
finalizing that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I just address the water issue? Obviously, it's a problem. We wanted to connect to town water. We were basically told that it's just not viable given the pressure. So if something could be done to help alleviate that, we would be all in favor of connecting to that system.
All right, we'll see what options are possibly there if it's a dead end. Mr. President, you good? Yeah. Then I want to try to move on to
real quick,
where to go from here.
Give you some clarity. Mike Fitzpatrick, 55 Southwest Main Street. As far as the water, you have 22 pounds of pressure on Southwest Main Street. It provides about 50 gallons a minute right now. That's a problem for servicing the houses, but it's also a problem for firefighting. Right? So from a firefighting standpoint, the rule of thumb is you take the square footage of the house divided by 3, and that's how many gallons per minute. So a 1,500 square foot house is going to need 500 gallons a minute. You only have 50. So even if they brought up their tanker truck, they're good for 4.5 minutes. You're not going to put out the fire if it's in it fully involved. So that answers your water problem. You've talked a few things in there. I just want to add something in because we've been talking about these retention ponds or whatever they are, right? If you look at them, they both have overflows on them. One's coming right towards my barn and my neighbor's barn. It's right there in the corner of the property. Then the other one's further up on my paddock, right? If we have a flashback to December 11th and December 18th of 2023 when we flooded out Manchog Pond and the cubes washed out the roadway, that's just where the climate is today. And it wouldn't be a good situation considering the fact that that land isn't as permeable as you think it is, because if you look at your own report, you have Class C and D in there, and it's not very good soil conditions for infiltration, right? So you add all this impervious surface, that water, that is the lowest point. Water goes downhill, and it's all going to come this way, and it's going to be a huge problem for the neighborhood. Mostly mine, but it's going to continue on. It'll affect a few other people down on Churchill as well.
So we haven't gone much into the detention retention ponds at this point, but we're going to get into them. They're going to get peer reviewed, and they're going to get peer reviewed with your comments and concerns.
If in fact this does go forward, there should be a restriction on fracking the wells if they don't get water, because it's going to affect my well, it'll affect my neighbor's well, and anybody else that has a well around. I was fortunate I got water out of my well. I know my neighbor, if he runs his hose for more than 30 minutes, his well stops. He's just got to wait for it to recover. So if he wants to fill the kid's pool up, it takes a little bit. So the water is a problem up in that. It's going to be the same situation that you have going on down on South Street in Dickie Downs' property. Yeah. They're constantly drilling wells over and over and over again. It's only a matter of time before the town has to do something, and it's a huge expense to bring water up, right? So to answer your question as far as what could the water department do to satisfy that water problem up there is to put in a tank. You need a tank. The elevation of the tank that's over on Chesborough's property is too low. That's why you don't get the flow up there. And the numbers that I gave you are based on 30 Southwest Main Street, which is at that dip, and they did the flows on that hydrant there. If you go up by Betty Ann's house, you won't even get that much out of it. And by regulation, they have to maintain at least 20 pounds pressure in that line, or they're in violation of the regulations.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
All right.
There's one other thing that definitely needs to be discussed before we continue this. Peer review.
Yep.
The reason that we don't have a peer review consultant assigned right now is because normally we use Haley Ward. However, the applicant has had a conversation with Graves about them being used, and you have communications in your packet about potentially using Graves Engineering as the peer review consultant. Now, Graves has certainly acted in the past for other projects like Deer Crossing. They've done peer review for the town, so that's something the board needs to decide tonight, because if we're going to move forward, this hasn't gone to peer review engineer for comments yet.
Okay.
So that needs to be decided tonight, whether or not the board is comfortable with that. And if not, then I have to get information to Haley Ward and get a scope of work and get that going.
Travis, any comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, we just looked in the files in the past. Graves had reviewed stuff on behalf of the board. They review stuff in towns around here. They're a reputable company, thorough and timely, so it seems to go efficient with them.
I just have a concern of how that might look to the general public of basically if you're selecting.
Yeah, I'm not selecting.
I know you're not really selecting, but I don't know how I feel about it.
I'm not opposed to going however the board.
Okay.
I asked John originally if we go with Haley Ward, I would have rather just sent it to them a month ago.
I would have rather you not sent it to begin with until we figured it out.
Yeah, but that's what I was told. You come to the meeting and we'll figure it out.
Okay. All right. Peer review, anyone have an issue with one or the other? At this point, I probably would look better for everything if it went through Haley Ward.
Graphics, they should all have it.
There's no connection, just for the record, between us and Graves Engineering.
No, just not a good look.
Yeah, it's perceived.
Fair enough.
All right. Do you have a list of the special permit requirements?
You mean the criteria?
Yeah, just somewhere quickly on.
It's at the beginning of my comment letter.
Okay.
Down there, it's listed criteria.
All right. I'm just going to say
So can we take a quick vote? Is the board in agreement that Haley Ward is going to act as the peer review consultant for this project? And the board feels more comfortable with that? Can we put that to them?
Yeah, I like that approach.
So the board's in agreement, Haley Ward?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'm just going to have some comments and then go from there. I know some members on this board are adamant, no waivers. The rules and regulations are there for a reason. Some people just do it right, do it without a waiver, and that's what it is. I personally, I'm flexible with the waiver. But my flexibility also comes from hearing concerns from abutters and town staff of what their concerns are. So if we're hearing comments with concerns with the access regarding the 40 feet, that's something I got to consider. And it's been brought up, and I don't mind bringing it up again. At the previous discussion, it was mentioned that it was going to go in the 40 feet and go right to the 60 feet for easement. That's how that was approached, and I think it was also 8 houses that was approached, that was discussed.
Conventional, but I believe the flex was also displayed, but
so
there.
Well, here's the thing, Mr. Chairman. In doing my research today after we spoke, the presentation, the informal discussion, there were no plans presented to the board at May 20th in 2021. There was an oral presentation made by a different engineer. The plans that we have, informal plans, not official plans, for a flex design and a conventional use plan were dated June 10th of 2021. So the board has never seen any plans before this on this property.
Yeah. And I think, for me personally, if I'm going to entertain a significant waiver like that, I'd like to see the rest of the project 100%, to the T.
So you mean peer review?
Well, peer reviewed, but, detention ponds not going into open space, no less than 100 feet buffer zone, that's a significant waiver request. So for me personally, I would want to see the rest of the project in compliance.
Yeah, I would then say that flex development's not viable.
And then the 60-foot road coming in after the suggestion.
There's got to be some work if we want to entertain a significant
standards.
Yeah.
So just to point out, Whiten Heights off Douglas Hill Way was originally approved as a conventional subdivision, 50 feet wide, was later modified as a flexible development. It's a 50-foot wide right away.
You shouldn't have brought that up because we are having so many issues with that development right now.
Yeah. I'm just saying the right-of-way width. Like I said previously, if you can fit it within a 40, I can fit it within a 50.
Honestly, Mr. Chairman, I've had discussions with Travis to be very transparent, and I really encourage not to bring other projects into this because each project is based on its own situation, its own merit. So I think to discuss other projects is really not relevant to this project. It's a special permit for this location, this neighborhood, and I think the discussion should center on this property. Because when we talk about mitigation, it has to be related to this property. So I think to talk about stuff that was approved back when I was in high school is not really relevant to right now. So.
All right, so we're going to look to obviously we're going to continue this here, and we're not going to hash this out. So for the next meeting, all comments, concerns have to be addressed. So not an answer, but acknowledgement and looking into them.
Sure. So, Mr. Chairman, in light of that, because there are a lot of comments and a lot of feedback tonight from the public and from the departments and from myself and from the board, we usually require stuff for an upcoming meeting to be submitted to us the week before. So I think it would be more appropriate to continue it to the next meeting after this one.
Yeah.
The first meeting in February.
And we got to have the peer review have a chance.
Correct. I have to send it to him tomorrow and get a scope of work and things like that.
To the chair, to be fair, I will not be here. There's only a few of us here. I will not be here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of homework.
Night, so that's not going to work.
So if we're looking at the 2nd and 4th in February, we're talking about dates of the 11th and the 25th. So those are the two options. I mean, obviously Travis has a lot of work to do. We want a chance to get peer review back. So you could continue it to February 11th or the 25th.
I think February 11th, and if it's not ready by then, we can, continue it to the next. Is that fine with you, Travis? You think?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think because it was brought up that essentially you can't go to a flexible development without building or showing you can do a conventional with no waivers. I can't do that.
I think the town council said it's up to the discretion of the board because our zoning bylaws don't expressly say that. I know, Mike, you disagree, but yeah, it refers to it. But her opinion was, as in your packet, that there is some discretion by the board.
Yeah, for me, my discretion is. I completely understand it's not physically possible to even do it, so you can't provide it.
Right.
So
I just don't want to go down the road of having peer review look at something that we're going to go back to a conventional, perhaps, and then a bunch of things change. But I guess we'll have to.
Yeah, that is always a risk with flexible design.
Right.
Weighs the options of special permit versus what can be done otherwise.
Yeah.
Because based on your position of not wanting the basins in the 100, based on where the low points of the site are, I can't physically do that. So, that's another thing to weigh.
So it seems like the basins, everything's tough for you as an engineer. You've been asked to do a lot. And I've been asked to do a lot. So I get how that goes, and sometimes you're up against it, and then at the end, it doesn't work out, and you feel like you got egg in your face or whatever. If the basins weren't part of that, that would be more of a conventional subdivision, right? Because then property lines go up to,
the abutter.
And there's no open space, which likely people are not going to be using from the public.
Right.
Anyway, so I mean, that is a consideration. And then you get a 60-foot road after the 40, at least I think you're being asked to do a lot, and I think there's too many lots here, per se.
That is an issue because, again, usually, to show a conventional yield plan through a special permit like this, you need to show a conventional subdivision that has no waivers. However, if you do a conventional subdivision, you have the option of requesting those waivers as part of your conventional subdivision. So it's a little bit of a neater process.
Yeah. It's a square circle around, that whole thing, and whatever.
So there's some stuff we gotta address on the plans. We need, the mailbox, pull-off spots. We're gonna get comments from open space, but I can only assume that they're gonna want access to the open space. And the basins need to be on their own lot for town maintenance purposes.
Is that a regulation or is that a preference?
I think right now
it's a preference, but
it's going to be. It's most likely going to become part of the subdivision rules and regs as of the 28th of this month.
Yeah, because where Basin 1 is positioned, like that's within that 100-foot perimeter. So if that's on its own lot, now I can't do the 100-foot perimeter. So there's trickle-down effects. Is trying to what I'm trying to understand.
I think you have a very difficult site and what you're trying to do, but it's not a requirement, but it's a preference, and you're asking a lot for this board to consider, so.
Sure.
And that's the thing, and that's what the board has to balance, because the board's role and my role is to review what's in front of us compared to our regulations and our bylaws. And, there is the question of, okay, if the scope of the project can't meet those requirements, then the scope of the project needs to be reduced potentially.
All right, so some homework research.
Yeah, now would the board be looking for these comments to be addressed prior to the next meeting? I would recommend just rolling in peer review and doing one set of plans.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Wait for peer review comments, that way Travis can address all the comments at once from departments, from myself, and from Haley Ward. That does make sense.
Yeah, and you're probably going to have to do some changes to the plan anyways, so I think coming in the next meeting with, our comments, concerns, and what you're looking to do.
It might be tight. I guess what I'm getting at is it's maybe likely all that doesn't happen before that February 11th meeting.
So are you saying you'd rather have a continuation to the...
No, I don't want to. I just don't know Haley Ward's schedule and things like that.
In my opinion, pushing it out to the 11th, if we need additional continuance after that without testimony, we can always cross that bridge when we get there.
Or it may be productive just to come in and have some conversations after I'm looking at things even without a revised set of plans.
Yeah, so I don't think there's any harm in putting it on for the 11th, and then you and I can keep in touch, and I'll be in touch with Haley Ward, and if we find that there's more time that's needed, we can always continue without testimony to the 25th.
And they'll be posted on the agenda for the audience, so we're not, taking additional comments.
Yeah, I'd give you plenty of notice if I were to continue.
All right, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing for Eastland Partners, Inc., Southwest Main, map 212, parcel 24, to February 11th, 7 p.m.
Yes. So moved. Second.
Made by Mrs. Rose, second by Mr. Sokrat. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would it be appropriate to submit any questions I may have to John?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks. Have a good night. Thank you.
Can I take a picture of that?
You can take a picture, but you can also just stop in the community development office and look at it.
Take a picture.
All right.
Be easy for me.
Mr. Chair, when did the 11th?
Thank you.
The 11th?
Yeah, the 11th, February 11th.
All right. We still have some items to take care of.
Folks, if you could please keep it down, we have an agenda to get through.
I gotta find my agenda. There it is.
That's right.
All right, additional business. Master Plan Committee update. Mr. Preston's not here, so Mr. Charbonneau.
Folks, could we have conversations outside, please?
Folks, take it outside, please. Thank you. Good job. I haven't had to use that, but I didn't want to scare everyone with my voice.
Until it's time not to be nice. Yeah, there you go.
All right. Master Plan Committee update, John.
So the last meeting was December 17th. Last meeting was on December 17th. Right now, they're addressing the writing and editing phase of the 7 chapters, which should be completed in February. Now, one thing that I do want to mention to the board, this is not for a long discussion, I just want to bring you up to speed on what's happening behind the scenes. Through no fault of the towns, the budget is running into tightness. After the December invoice was paid, we're left with $12,800 approximately in the budget, which is not going to be enough to get us through June, which was the original timeline. So myself, Bob and Eric, Rich Preston, and Matt met last week, and we're in contact with CMRPC, and basically we put the ball in their court to explain to us how they're going to get us to June 2026. They were charging at a rate of sometimes $11,000, $12,000 a month. So in our opinion, it's a matter of them not, as the consultant, not managing their budget properly. So we may be having a meeting next week with them to basically say, hey, and to not get a rushed product. So $145,000 should be plenty to get us through the scope of work for a master plan.
3 years work on that.
Exactly. So anyway, I just wanted to bring the board up to date on that. We're working on that behind the scenes to make sure that they can fulfill their contract and their scope of work. So it shouldn't be on us to tell them how to do that. They should be able to tell us how they're going to do it. And the next meeting is next week on the 21st for the master plan.
All right. Subdivision rules and regs.
Yes, so I've scheduled and advertised a public hearing for the 28th on that, so we can go over all the changes, and I have a copy of the document for the next meeting with every single change. I'm disappointed that Mr. Swicker's not here, because I did talk to Adam about concrete curbing, and Adam does not want concrete curbing because it degrades. It should be either,
Granite
Cape Cod berm, asphalt, or Cape Cod berm or granite.
So I think the concern was because it just mentioned it in there. So if
he was talking about specifications for concrete curbing when there's concrete sidewalks, but Adam said no, he does not recommend that.
Okay, so it might just have to fine tune the verbiage in that.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that with Adam.
All right. Ongoing development.
So the Cubes of Gilboa, negotiations are ongoing with potential tenants for that. Evergreen Estates, a person came in, and I'm working with them on the status of the approval to see if they still have valid approval, so there may be some movement on that subdivision fairly soon.
Evergreen Estates, remind me.
I don't know a lot about that. I know it's, I don't have details in front of me.
Where is
question? I don't know off the top of my head. I was looking at.
That's why I hate these developments that come in with these funky names, and I can't think of them because
it was approved in 2006.
Wow.
So yeah, and so there's been no activity on it. So, yeah. So I'm working with them to see if they still have a valid approval, like I did with the Lane and Hunts Pond. So I can get you more details.
Yeah,
Jake, I'll send that.
I know I've heard that that Evergreen Estates. I just
I apologize. I just don't know that information off the top of my head.
Okay.
The Lane and Hunts Pond, I have been in communication with the attorney for that, and the developer, Mr. Afonso, is in Florida until March, so nothing is going to happen until he gets back, and we'll have a tech review meeting, and so I would suspect he may be coming before the board in March or April for the revision to the phasing plan.
Good for him being in Florida.
Douglas Package Store, people have seen the framing is going up.
The floor deck is on.
Yep.
There you go.
Excellent. 286 Webster Street. We actually have a tech review meeting next week, and concept plans to add 2 new structures on the property in the coming weeks for site plan review. So we have a tech review meeting next Wednesday, the 21st in the morning. So we'll see how that goes. One thing that we want to find out is, they are doing outdoor storage, and Mr. Leonard is saying that supposedly these 2 new buildings are to support that operation, but they're shown as truck parking, indoor truck parking, and truck maintenance. So how does that relate to outdoor storage? I'm not sure. So there is some concern about what the goal is for this property.
And we'll have to look into legality of changing what we approved in a site plan to what.
Correct, so I may have to confer with town council on that.
Because we had an issue like that with the Cubic Gilboa. The whole site plan came in, this is what's going on, and then McIntyre comes in behind and says, oh, we're putting our business back in.
Right.
Like, oh, wait, it's different from the site plan that we approved, so.
Right, so, yeah, so what Ken and I are talking about that, because right now, our zoning bylaws don't have like a trucking operation or distribution as a use in our use table at all, so what does that mean?
Yeah.
So we have, the only maintenance we have on vehicles is for light maintenance of vehicles, not truck, heavy vehicle maintenance, things like that. So you're going to have to see how it fits in with our zoning bylaws and if it fits in with our zoning bylaws.
Okay.
So in your packet, we have received the Attorney General's response regarding the stormwater bylaw that was approved at the May 2025 town meeting. They have approved everything except one sentence. So we're going to be talking about this with the Stormwater Committee at our next meeting on the 27th. So no matter what, we'll need to go to town meeting in May with a tweak of that. So one of the options is, in reading the sentence that they rejected, is I think either we simply leave the sentence out, because obviously if someone gets a site plan review or gets a stormwater permit, Ken's not going to issue a building permit if they're within one of those areas without an approval from the planning board. So I don't even know if that sentence needs to be included. So if it's an administrative thing that doesn't need to be in there, I say let's take it out, and then they won't give the state anything to reject on that. So that's going to be one of the things coming forward in there, along with the tweaks to the ADU bylaw.
Okay.
And that's it.
I have something in here for Woodland Road.
Woodland Road?
Hydrology, storm manager.
Yes, that's just for your information.
Okay.
That is the, when Margaret came before the board to allow Graves to be the peer review on that last phase of Deer Crossing, that's just for the board's information, not for discussion.
Okay. All right. And we have minutes from the December 10th meeting. It's time to look over this and get these approved.
There is a issue with section 4C. John Trevino's name is spelled wrong.
Well, that's okay.
And in that same sentence, John gave an overview that back in 2003 voted to release. Who voted?
Where were you on that?
4C. It says, the first sentence, John Charbonneau gave an overview that back in 2003 voted.
What project was that, Mike? I need some context.
Hilltop Estates.
Okay.
Oh, Hilltop Estates, yeah, the planning board voted to release.
Okay, just gotta add PB in there.
Yeah, planning board voted to release that.
Yep.
Anyone else? Did you go through them all, Mike?
Not super tight, but let's see.
Okay.
The last page.
Were you able to go through them at all, John?
Honestly, I usually don't review minutes. That, for me, that's for the board to review. I usually don't review minutes, so.
For the most part, the important things are the votes and who made them and what the vote was on.
Because to be honest with you, I'm so focused on the agenda when I don't have the big picture in mind. So I've tried to do minutes for boards when the recording secretary is unavailable, and I find it very tough because I'm having to comment on different things and get focused on that. And it's tough, and it's really important to have a recording secretary who just looks at the whole meeting.
Your name is spelled wrong in number 6 also.
It is? Wow.
Do have a tricky name.
How's
coming from me?
What'd she get wrong?
It is the same. It's the other one, too. Charbonita.
Charbonita?
Yeah. She's got to do something with her autocorrect.
It's actually not the worst I've heard over the years.
John, do you have what Mr. Fitzpatrick gave?
Yes, I did.
That's
well-written.
Yeah, and I don't mean to revisit, but I did get a little frustrated with the engineer because I did have a discussion with him about not going back 4 years ago because and that's why I kind of tried to shut that down because that was not an appropriate conversation.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes for December 10th as amended. Just some spelling error, some spelling and adding planning board under number C.
So moved.
Second.
Made by Ms. Schlesman, second by Mr. Greco. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have a signature packet going around. Open session topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of this meeting. Shouldn't have any. We had a very long break in between, so. All right, seeing as none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Made by Mr. Gnatic, second by Mr. DeRose. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.